you for joining us today for a Sun Belt Conference special announcement. As we move through the teleconference today, we will have an opening statement from Dr. Mark Becker, the president of Georgia State University, who is also serving as the Sun Belt Conference president. As we move through the opening statements, we will have a Q&A session, and at any time you can press *1 for questions. At this time, I will turn it over to Sun Belt and Georgia State President, Dr. Mark Becker.
Thank you, John, and good day. On behalf of the Sun Belt Conference's presidents and chancellors, I am delighted to announce the appointment of Keith Gill as the next commissioner of the Sun Belt Conference. Keith is a proven leader with deep experience across the many dimensions of intercollegiate athletics. Combining that with his passion, integrity, and enthusiasm, Keith will be an outstanding leader as the Sun Belt continues on its rising trajectory. We very much look forward to his leadership. At this point, it's my pleasure to introduce Keith, the sixth commissioner of the Sun Belt Conference, and turn it over to him for a statement.
Well, thank you so much, President Becker. I really appreciate that. First, I would like to start by thanking Georgia State and Sun Belt President Mark Becker and all of the Sun Belt presidents and chancellors for their leadership during this process and for the opportunity to be the next commissioner of the Sun Belt. I'm so excited about the opportunity, and I cannot wait to work with them and get started in this position. I also, since this is March and March Madness is upon us, I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to congratulate the Sun Belt women's basketball champions, Little Rock, and wish them luck against Gonzaga in their opening round game, and also I might as well congratulate President Becker and Georgia State for their men's basketball championship and wish them the best of luck in their game against Houston. I would also like to recognize Commissioner Karl Benson and just acknowledge his leadership of the conference. It wasn't too long ago that the Sun Belt was a conference with one bowl game. That has changed significantly with all the tie-ins that we have now. He ushered in the basketball strategic plan, which has created a lot of new changes in the basketball space that will take effect next year, and really done a great job of growing football in the conference generally. And so I do want to thank Karl for his great leadership and also for giving me the opportunity to lead a conference that is in such good shape and had been so well directed. So I'd also like to recognize my parents and my family. So they really are a big support for me and a tremendous rock, and they've set a great example for who I am as a person. I'd like to also recognize the love of my life, Tiffany Speaks, who has overcome a stroke that she had 2 years ago and will graduate with her doctorate from Vanderbilt on May 10th. And her fight and all the things that she has done to overcome her health challenges has been an inspiration to me. And I want her to know how proud I am of her, how much inspiration I take from her, and how much I love her. So I would also like to thank and acknowledge Commissioner Bernadette McGlade and the staff at the A10. The A10 has been an incredible place to be over the last 2 years. I learned so much there and really appreciate all the opportunities to learn and grow that Bernie provided me. I want to thank Rochelle Collins, Stan Johnson, the Minority Opportunities and Interest Committee, and the Committee on Women's Athletics. Back in 1994, I got my start in college athletics through one of the NCAA's diversity enhancement programs, and that was an internship program developed specifically for women and ethnic minorities and people of color. And without really the work of the late Charlie Whitcomb and the MOIC and the CWA to put this program together, there's no way I would have gotten my start in collegiate athletics, and I wouldn't be here. And so I am so appreciative to the NCAA and its diversity efforts and do everything that I can to support those going forward. And then lastly, I just want to thank all of my mentors and supporters. So as all of you know, you cannot be successful without a lot of help along the way, and I'm living proof of that truism. I've had so many people who've invested their time and energy in helping me grow and become a better person and administrator. My mentors are too numerous to name, but I do want to just thank them all now collectively. As we think about the Sun Belt and college athletics generally, it's important to remember that college athletics takes place in the context of higher education, and that's really important. That's always been at the center of my love for college athletics. I'm impressed by the quality of the institutions in the Sun Belt and their commitment to academics and impacting the world. And so really looking forward to working with some of the best colleges in the country as I begin this position. Competitively, the Sun Belt has such a rich tradition. In the last 3 years, the Sun Belt's bowl winning percentage has been the highest of all FBS football conferences at 688. And that's 10 percentage points higher than the second place team, which is the Big 12, and almost 20 percentage points higher than the SEC. In that same period, the Sun Belt has won more bowl games than any other Group of 5 conference, and last year had the best non-conference winning percentage of all the Group of 5 conferences. So, and the competitive success of the Sun Belt doesn't start there. In men's basketball, Sun Belt teams have advanced to the round of 32 in 2 of the last 4 years, and hopefully after Friday, when Georgia State beats Houston, we'll be saying it's 3 of the last 5 years. And academically, the Sun Belt continues to break records. You know, a record 23 programs received the NCAA public recognition, which is one of the highest academic designations provided by the NCAA. And the Sun Belt has also been a leader in health and safety initiatives for student athletes, and I look forward to continuing that as well. So I really am looking forward to working with the presidents, the chancellors, the athletic directors, the students, the coaches, and the conference office staff as we help to support the Sun Belt member institutions in their quest for competitive success, academic success, and an outsized impact on the world. I'm really excited to get started so that we can work together to ensure that the Sun Belt remains one of the best football bowl subdivision conferences in the country. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. At this time, we'll go ahead and start with our question and answer session. Again, at any time, you can press *1 to get in the queue. Our first caller today is Ethan Joyce from the Winston-Salem Journal. Ethan, if you're ready, please go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. Keith, I wanted to start just by asking you, you're looking at your background, your last stop is very heavily.
Hello?
It looks like we may have lost Ethan there. Operator, are we able to open Ethan Joyce's line again, please?
Certainly. Ethan, please press *1. Ethan, your line is open.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry about that, guys. Dr. Becker, I wanted to start with you and just looking at Keith's basketball experience. Was it a goal for you guys to pick a commissioner with a basketball background? And, furthermore, what was it about Keith that really sold you guys on him as being the next commissioner?
So first off, basketball was not a determining factor. We were looking for a commissioner that certainly understands, at a very high level, men's and women's basketball, but also football. Football is very important to the Sun Belt Conference, as is basketball. So what we were looking for was somebody who had the experience to be able to lead the conference forward across all areas of intercollegiate athletics, to be able to be well-versed and experienced and demonstrate a record of success in student-athlete welfare, somebody who will work very collaboratively and constructively with all the ADs, presidents, and chancellors to take the Sun Belt Conference to a higher level. As Keith said so eloquently in his opening remarks, Commissioner Benson has brought the conference a long way, but we don't think we've by any means hit our top. There's further to go, and Keith has the background, the experience, as well as the depth of what I'll call 21st century skills and understanding of data, analytics, digital media, all the things that it's going to take to help a conference be successful in the 21st century.
And Keith, just for you to stay kind of on that basketball background note, what are your goals for the future of Sunbelt basketball? And what are some of the things you want to immediately accomplish just in this new role when you take it over?
Yeah, I think what we want to do with Sunbelt basketball is one, continue to try to take steps to improve our seeding for the team that earns the automatic qualifier, and then also become a multi-bid conference on a consistent basis. So I think that's the overarching goal. I think what we'll do in the interim, or as we work towards that, is first we've got to see if the changes that we made as it relates to the basketball strategic planning are working. So we'll need to develop a way to evaluate that and kind of understand that. I think also we'll begin to dive into the numbers to understand the net, so that we understand what really matters and what can move the needle there, and then take that information and trying to develop additional kind of initiatives that support some of the steps that were taken in that basketball strategic planning that will really start next season. So that's what we really hope to do. We want to be a multi-bid league. We want to make sure that we're putting our teams that are in the NCAA tournament in the best possible success position, and seeding is an important part of that. And so we'll try to do what we can to create initiatives that move us along in those areas.
And Keith, you coming in, you're going to be the first African American FBS commissioner. I just wanted to know what that means to you.
It means a lot to me. I think it's important as I think about my kind of career trajectory. I mean, my parents are my heroes, and so when I think about certainly all the advantages they didn't have growing up in Jim Crow, South Carolina, as it relates to access to education and the sacrifices they made so that I can go to Duke and that my brother and sister could go to college. It just humbles me to think about some of the opportunities I've had that, my parents, who are these two wonderful, hardworking, great people, have never had the opportunity to have. So it means a lot for me from that perspective. But I also think, coming throughout, I've had mentors. I've had a diverse pool of mentors, so men and women and, all different nationalities and ethnicities and those types of things. It's important. But I do think it's also important to have role models and folks that look like you. I think that is an important piece. And so I've had that as I have come through the business, and I look forward, for the opportunity to serve that for others, and make sure that, they understand that there are opportunities there and that they can achieve them, if they work hard and certainly kind of focus and have folks who help them and support them along the way, that there are opportunities for it. So it really does mean a lot to me. I'm humbled by it. And, I will certainly work every day to live up to the honor of that position.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Ethan. We're now going to go to the line of Brad Bobo from 95.3 The Ticket in Jonesboro, Arkansas.
Yeah, Keith, you were just talking about the process. Just wondering from your end, just kind of get a sort of a timeline of what that process was like. How long have these conversations taken place that led to today?
That's a great question. So I would say that I first spoke to the Parker folks in the fall, but I don't think it really. My first kind of real conversation when the process was going to start was in January, and so really since January I've been kind of having various conversations with various people that have been associated with the search process, and so I guess maybe 2.5 months.
And you sort of mentioned your career trajectory. When along the way did you make a decision that you wanted to work at a conference level as opposed to maybe just with a single university as an AD?
Yeah, I think So I really, working at the A10 has been a really fun kind of experience in terms of trying to help a full league kind of move forward. And obviously I've worked at the NCAA for 10 years. And there's some elements to conference office work at the NCAA. I mean, you're really serving 1,000 member institutions and more than 100 conferences, but there's still that kind of collective work that you're doing to move a group forward, which is a little different than campus. So the A10 was a great opportunity for me in terms of, understanding conference work and really kind of having some great opportunities provided to me by Commissioner McGlade. And so looking at the Sun Belt and their success, and particularly their football success and that trajectory, and then also kind of their aspirations for basketball, it just seemed like a perfect fit. It's 12 wonderful schools that are working hard every day to kind of impact higher education and the citizenry, and they want to win while doing it. And they want to take care of their students in terms of the students' personal development and their health development. And so being a part of that with helping 12 schools move that, to me, is, gives you a higher level of impact than when you do it at one campus. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm excited about, being at a conference.
I know, President Becker said this wasn't, basketball wasn't the driving force here, but with football sort of kind of in a good spot. The new bowl deal to be done, the TV deal's in place. After sort of just the acclimation process, does basketball become your first kind of big project?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I think it's going to be important for me to do, more than one thing at a time. And so, I don't think we're ever going to be satisfied with where we are in football until we're at the top. So for me, I will continue to focus, and as a league, we'll continue to focus on improving football, every day. Can we get someone preseason ranked on a regular basis? Can we get our team to be our champion to be the highest ranked so that they play in the New Year's Six Bowl? There's plenty of things that we can be doing in the football space to help us grow. I think at the same time, though, equally as important is trying to continue to improve basketball. So I think we'll be working on both of those things really at the same time, and spending a lot of our time and effort on trying to make sure that we continue to improve with both of those sports.
Thank you.
And thank you very much, Brad. Reminder, as always, *1 to get in the queue at any time. Our next question comes from Tim Buckley of the Lafayette Daily Advertiser. Tim, welcome. Go ahead. Operator, can we get Tim's line open, please?
Tim, your line is open.
Good morning and congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I've got two questions. One football related, and of course, since it's March, one basketball related. And I understand obviously that you haven't even worked day one yet, but I'm wondering what your thoughts and opinions are. First of all, on the basketball related to the pod system and the implementation of that next season, and also the play-in games in terms of the structure of the conference tournament, and then football-wise, your opinions on non-conference scheduling and how that philosophy-wise can kind of go forward in order to elevate the presence of the conference.
Yeah, so I think with regards to the kind of basketball kind of changes that will take place next year, I'm interested to see how it plays out. In some ways, it's really too early to kind of comment until you kind of see how it plays out, what the data is, how it impacts. Does it actually result in more quad 1 and quad 2 victories and opportunities? And so I'm looking forward to kind of getting started, and so I can really get a clear sense of what the anticipated outcomes would be, and then trying to build a system so we can evaluate whether or not we're achieving those outcomes and whether we should kind of continue down that path, or if there's some tweaks we should do, or some additional initiatives to add. So I think it's a little premature for me to kind of comment on it, but I'm looking forward to watching it and beginning the process of seeing how close to the mark it's all kind of working. I think with regards to football non-conference scheduling, I think, I kind of like the way the Sun Belt seems to be kind of trending towards this schedule. I think balance is always important. And so if you think of the football schools, 8 of them essentially played a schedule where they only played kind of one kind of SEC game. And then they played, certainly 3 other teams that you would say, were more kind of pure conference type teams. And then there were 2 teams that played kind of 2 kind of guaranteed games. I think there's a role for guaranteed games and going to play big SEC teams and having fun. One of the things I talked about during my football or during my interview process is when I was at Duke, when I was a sophomore, I think, we played Tennessee, and for me that was a great experience. We did not win that game, but going there, having 100,000 people, having a press box that was 100 yards long. I mean, all those things that kind of go along with playing in those SEC stadiums and in that environment, I think is great. I think those are good learning experience. I think those are good experiences just generally. I mean, it's something that to this day we lost the game and I still remember that. So I think there's a role for those games to be played. But the question is, if you play too many of them, how does that impact you in terms of some of your long-term goals, whether it's to make sure that you end up at the highest part of the CFP rankings from those computers, or whether it's to try to be the highest ranked conference champion to play in a New Year's Six Bowl. And so too much of that can impact certainly those opportunities. So I think, I think the Sun Belt, where it's scheduling right now is in a good spot. And I think that we need to keep monitoring that to just make sure that, we're making the right choices to put us in the best position to achieve our goals in the football area.
And lastly, can you tell me a little bit, how did your experiences as a student athlete kind of influence some of your decision making as an administrator and now Will as a commissioner?
Yeah, my inspiration for getting into college athletics is my experience at Duke. So Duke was a transformational experience for me. I met Tiffany at Duke. I learned how to write at Duke. I learned how to think. I learned that I could have impact on the world. Took my first trip abroad. I did all these unbelievable things that I never thought I could do when I was at Duke. And I thought it would be a gift and an honor if, my life's work was trying to help students have the same type of impactful or have an impactful experience like I have. And so that's why I got into college athletics. It is why I get excited about it every day when I wake up. And it does impact every decision I make in terms of, trying to make sure that we're doing things to make sure that we're supporting the students, whether it's their health and safety, whether it's their academic, or whether it's their competitive opportunities. I think it's really important that we put our students in the best place to be successful, and our decisions should be focused in that regard. And that really all kind of comes from my undergraduate experience. That's where that inspiration comes from.
Great. Hey, thanks and congrats again.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Tim. We're now going to go to the line of Jay Burr from KRRK, Pocket 16 in Little Rock, Arkansas. Jay, if you're ready.
Hey, Keith, congrats again on the new gig here. But do want to ask, is there anything that you've seen, and I know you haven't gotten into the day-to-day minutia of the Sun Belt too much yet, but is there anything that you see similar between the conferences of the Sun Belt and the A-10 that you could apply?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's one of the things that the A-10 is generally not considered the best basketball conference in the country, but it's a good basketball conference. And I think the Sun Belt, as we think about it right now, isn't necessarily considered the best football conference in the country. It is a good football conference. And I think both leagues want to be the best, and so every day, when we were working at the 810, we were trying to move the needle. And one, making sure that people really understood the quality of our league, and I think the Sun Belt is the same way. I don't know that people really understand and appreciate the quality of the Sun Belt. And so I think trying to kind of get up and make sure that we're educating folks on how good we are, that we are making choices that keep us kind of moving forward in that space, so that we are on a path to be the best kind of conference in the country. And I think that in some ways the Sun Belt and the A-10 are kind of similar in that way. These really great, outstanding conferences that want to be considered the best and are on a path to do it and are working towards that goal, and don't want to stop until they kind of get where people think of them as the best.
And you kind of lead me into my next question there. How do you go about trying to change the perception, and especially from a football standpoint, because, everybody kind of thinks the Sun Belt isn't a big deal, and, you rattled off some of the stats, best conference, out-of-conference record, one of the better bowl records in recent years. What do you guys want to try to implement to maybe change that narrative, especially on a national level?
Yeah, I think really trying to obviously work with the Sun Belt Conference office staff and all of the schools to, create messaging and create opportunities to educate folks on the Sun Belt. I just think that, to think that the Sun Belt of all the FBS conferences has the best bowl record, and by double-digit amount, or best bowl winning percentage by double-digit amount, it's something that we need to talk about, and we need to make sure that our fans have pride around that. So I really think it is about kind of developing kind of a messaging and branding opportunities for us to tell our story, and making sure that we tell that story every opportunity. Because one of the things that I found as I was researching about the Sun Belt is it's a great story to tell. There's so much success. There's so many great things going on in the league, and so we just got to work to figure out how we tell those stories, how we break through, and how we make sure that people understand kind of the depth of our success across a lot of different fronts.
And lastly, for me here, I know the thing that really drives the narrative and moves the needle is football, basketball. But do you have any ideas, big plans in place, or even things you want to kick around, with some of those other sports, baseball, softball, even stuff like golf and some of the other non-revenue sports like that?
Yes, I would like to. I want to make sure that we are trying to. The same thing that we want to do for basketball, we'll want to do for all sports, which is how do we make sure our automatic qualifier has the best seed to advance? Because seeding is really important in terms of how you advance and where you move forward. And I think that's across all the sports. How do we get to be? How do we have the best seeding? And then also, once you start moving your seeding forward, then the natural progression is how do you make sure that you get another team in the NCAA tournament or NCAA championship, depending on the sport. So trying to be a multi-bid league, I think, is really important. And I think we'd want to do that across all sports. I also think we want to just make sure that our championships are, the best they can be from an experiential standpoint. And because the beauty of college athletics to me is no matter who you are, no matter where you are, you always get to compete for the championship within your conference. And so I think it's important that we make sure as a conference office that we're putting on championships that create memorable opportunities for our students. We just want those things to be special and branded properly and conducted in a way that makes people remember them, because they're really invaluable, and you can almost argue that they might be the best thing that a conference does is put on championships. So I think that's another place of really importance in terms of, how do you impact some of the sports other than football, basketball, is ensuring that their championship experience is of the highest quality.
Great. Thank you very much, Jay. We're now going to move to Chris from The Athletic.
Hey, Keith, moving from the A-10 to the Sun Belt, where football is a bigger thing, but also having experience as an FCS athletic director, how do you feel about Group of Five access to the college football playoff, and kind of where things stand with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that clearly, more access, the better. I think we all want to have more access to the college football playoff, and I think for the Sun Belt Conference, that would be positive. So, but the good thing is, we're doing well in the current system, and we'll keep working towards, an opportunity to either, kind of break through and actually be one of the 4 teams selected to the CFP, but minimally, try to make sure that, we can get our champion to be the highest ranked so that we can play in the New Year's Six Bowl.
And do you lean, when you look at football and the lack of experience with that in the A-10, do you lean on your athletic director experience, or how do you kind of approach not only a new sport, but what is the most valuable sport for any conference?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, obviously the A-10 doesn't have football, but I've been surrounded by football for my entire life and entire career. So I worked with football when I was at Vanderbilt, so in that SEC institution. I worked with football when I was at Oklahoma, so obviously Oklahoma football. I served on the football rules committee. I was a football student athlete in the ACC, and it's a program, it's a sport I stay connected to. So I don't really feel as though during my time in the A-10 I was out of football. But, I was still involved in all these kind of informal ways. So I don't think that's a dramatic change for me. It's a sport that I've been connected to since I was playing in the street when I was like 6 years old, and trying to act like I was Tony Dorsett. So, and I've been involved at various levels. When I was on the council, I was vice chair of the council. So that meant I was connected to the football oversight committee and all of their work and working with their chair closely. So throughout my career, I've been connected with football in a multitude of different ways. And so I think that there's a lot of experience there that I'll be able to draw on that will help me with the Sun Belt. And lastly, I would say that the great thing about being a conference commissioner is it really is a group effort. So I'll be working with presidents, I'll be working with ADs. They'll certainly have perspectives and ideas that are very helpful as we think about how we grow these things that, at the end of the day will help us moving forward. So it's not like, I have to have all the ideas. There's a lot of great people in the Sun Belt that I'll be leaning on to help us figure out, how to move this forward in the best possible way.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Chris. We do have another caller in the queue, and that is Jay Walker from ESPN 1420 in Lafayette. Jay, if you want to go ahead, please.
Keith, first of all, congratulations on your new appointment. And I realize that a lot of folks have asked for you to switch between talking about football and basketball, and I'm going to do the same thing and go back to basketball for a minute. Right now the Sun Belt is scheduled to go to a late season scheduling pod system, if you will. Now, Conference USA did it for the first time this year. My first question is, have you talked to Commissioner McGlade to see how it worked for CUSA? And secondly, are you committed come hell or high water to going ahead and giving this a try, regardless of what kind of feedback you get from Commissioner McGlade?
So I guess I would answer that a couple ways. I've not spoken to Commissioner McGlade about kind of their experience with that approach. So, and I think what I would obviously, when I do, and we'll probably do our own analysis as well to get a sense of how it works. But we'll talk about that as a league, But obviously, the league voted to make these changes, so I certainly would anticipate that we will do that moving forward. I would never say I would never say something is completely locked in stone just because, as a group of presidents, as a group of ADs, as a group of men's basketball coaches, there could be, if there were some compelling reasons to do something different, I think people would want to do something different. But I don't anticipate that. I don't know that, you make changes like this and then after one season just abandon them, just because I think you need multiple sets of data in order to know if something is working or something is not. When we look at scheduling, when we evaluate our scheduling philosophy and approach in the A10, we're usually looking at, kind of 4 years worth of data to see what the scheduling trends are. There can always be anomalies in your scheduling if you look at just year one. And there can always be anomalies in your success in terms of wins and losses, and if you just look at 1 year. So, so generally for me, I want to take kind of a multi-year approach. I would not anticipate that you would see something catastrophic from the data that would make you want to run away so quickly. So I would anticipate that, the process that was voted on will be the process that we have going forward. But certainly, we'll talk about that as a league. If there's something compelling, we'll obviously make the appropriate determinations at that time.
Thank you.
And thank you very much, Jay. This will conclude our teleconference today. I'd like to thank Dr. Mark Becker again for joining us, as well as Sunbelt Commissioner Keith Gill. A reminder that a copy of this teleconference will be posted on the Sunbelt's website along with YouTube later this evening. Thank you again, everyone, and have a great day.